still with me, former homicide prosecutor Melba Pearson and celebrity divorce attorney Carlos Lastra. Carlos, I'll start with you because I want to look at this through the lens of the burden of proof in this case, which is Johnny, in his case, has to prove with clear and convincing evidence that this incident on the staircase, for instance, did not happen, that he was not the aggressor, that he didn't hit Amber Heard or abuse her, however the jury decides to define it. Based on what we're hearing there, we kind of played the three parties there talking about it. Where would you come down on that?
Well, Michael, I am really upset that you didn't say Kate Moss. That would have been really exciting as far as a rebuttal witness. Look, it's all going to come down to the jury, and I'm really curious. This jury that's going to be deliberating this case is about a 10-minute drive from my office at CNW, and I'm going to be very curious as to how these Washingtonians are going to deliberate in this case. It's going to come down to the jury instructions and what they're told. In the state of Virginia, actual malice, because we're talking about public figures, has to be proven by clear and convincing evidence. So the judge is going to tell the jurors that means that they have to find evidence sufficient to support a clear conviction and belief, not just a mere probability. And that the level of proof for that amount of proof for defamation has to be satisfied. But then the judge is going to tell them that if there's an affirmative defense, in other words, if either party has proven that the substance of the defamatory statements are actually the truth by a preponderance of the evidence, which is a much lower standard, then the jury must find that defamation did not occur. So I think that's where the rubber is going to hit the road in this particular case.
Yeah, it sounds to me advantage Amber Heard. That's what I'm hearing. I'm going to get to you, Melba, but first I want to add something to the mix to make it a little more difficult for you. Let's listen to Travis McGivern as he explains kind of what he saw, because then he's the bodyguard for Johnny Depp, and he was involved a little bit. Let's take a listen.
Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a fist and an arm come across my right shoulder, and I heard and saw a closed fist contact Mr. Depp in the left side of his face.
And whose fist was that?
That was Miss Heard's fist, Amber Heard's fist.
All right, so Melba, that's not in dispute. We know that she hit her. It's the question as to why, right? She's saying she hit her because she was afraid she saw Johnny Depp hit her sister. She was responding to that. In your mind, again, based on what we just heard from Carlos and what the burden of proof is here, who do you think was the aggressor here based on the stories that were here?
Again, I mean, it's just so much back and forth, which makes it very difficult, and I think it's going to make it very difficult for the jury. It almost sounds like Amber Heard was acting in defense of another person, right? Because if she was afraid that her sister was going to get hurt, and that's why she swung out and hit Johnny Depp, that could be permissible in a court of law if she was being tried, in a criminal instance. But I still don't see any clear pathway here because of the fact that, number one, the bodyguard has a motive to, of course, support his employer. The sister, of course, has the motive to support her sister. So again, with all of this back and forth, I'm not quite sure what the jury is going to come back with. And there is a possibility that they say, you know what? We can't figure out whether or not, who was the aggressor here or anything like that. They may end up hanging, basically resulting in a mistrial, or they may end up, siding with Amber Heard on this one and just saying, look, there's too much toxicity going on here for us to definitively say you were not a victim of domestic violence, therefore making your statement to the Washington Post untrue.
Yeah, so there's mutual abuse. We'll throw the whole thing out, throw out the baby with the bathwater. Carlos, finally, if you throw in Jenny Howell's potential statement, you heard what she might testify to, the fact that Whitney told her a completely different story. Matter of fact, the exact opposite story, that it was actually Amber who was the aggressor. She was trying to stop Amber from getting at Johnny, which sort of backs up Johnny's story. Throw that in the mix. Does that change how you look at this situation?
Absolutely, and that clearly explains why we're going to hear from this rebuttal expert. But it's all going to depend on what we hear on direct examination and more importantly, what we hear on cross-examination, and then a redirect, of course, and then the jury will have to make that ultimate decision.
Yeah, again, I don't want to be in the seat of those jurors. This thing is complicated and curious, to say the least.